Hey everyone, this is Adam Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. Today we are going to take a look at the new moon forming in the sign of Cancer. This new moon is coming right off the Jupiter cazimi that took place yesterday in the sign of Cancer, which we took a look at through a 5 things to watch for list. Today we're going to do horoscopes for all 12 whole signs and give you a sense of what topics are being activated, not only by the Jupiter cazimi that we're fresh off from, but also this new moon cycle. So this will give you something to look at for really the entire lunation cycle to come. I hope that this will be useful for everyone today. I'm going to be giving you some reminders of the house topics and kind of a reiteration of some of the 5 things to watch for that we used yesterday. So we kind of combining those. Remember, before we get into it, to like and subscribe. It really helps our channel to grow. I hope that this is a place for your daily spiritual practice of astrology. And if it is, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps us a lot. Transcripts of any of these daily talks can be found on my website, which is nightlightastrology.com. Check out everything that we have going on at Nightlight when you're over there. We have a great shop page filled with webinars and master classes, and we have 4 years worth of professional curriculum. The main thing I also want to point you to is go to events, click on live talks. You'll see that my next webinar is coming up on July 10th from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. It is on the 9th house. So if you want to learn more about the 9th house and its ancient philosophical underpinnings, check this talk out. It's from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern on July 10th. If you can't attend the live webinar, you will get the replay of the recording later. Put a lot of love into developing that talk, so I hope you will enjoy it. All right, let's shift our attention to the real-time clock. We're going to get horoscopes rolling shortly, but I want to do a little reminder of what's going on. So here we are, Wednesday, June 25th, and today the new moon in Cancer is forming. As the new moon forms, it picks up the conjunction to Jupiter just prior to the formation of the new moon, which takes place within less than a degree later. And that new moon is going to be, well, here it's already happened by the time you're listening to this. It's really early this morning, Wednesday, June 25th. Now, what I'm going to do is take this through all 12 whole sign horoscopes and give you the topics of the house that is being activated according to your rising sign. Of course, you could, if you listen to your sun sign horoscopes, feel free to listen to that sign for the sun sign horoscope. But I always recommend your rising because that will correspond with the whole sign house location in your actual birth chart. In Hellenistic astrology, which is what I practice, we utilize whole sign houses. So this will be a reflection of where the transit is taking place in your whole sign house birth chart. Now, before I do horoscopes, I am going to be referencing for each horoscope the 5 things that we talked about yesterday. Something new to love. Watch this episode from yesterday if you haven't seen it yet. A fertile new beginning. The wisdom of the goddess. A clarified sense of direction, purpose, or belief. Or insight into family or ancestral karma. I'm going to be talking about the whole sign house location and how any of these 5 things might be taking place within that whole sign house. So let us flip up the real-time clock and let's get into it. We're going to start with Aries. We're going to go through each sign and give you some brief things to watch for. I want to admit to you guys today that I am dealing with a sore throat, and so I don't have as much gas in the tank as I usually would. We're going to get through these for sure, but I probably won't be as long on them as I usually am because I'm trying to make it through the rest of my day today without getting sick. All right. So anyway, on that note, with Aries, we begin in the 4th house. This is the place of home and family, of roots, of ancestral karma. And we have the sign of Cancer, which in modern astrology is often conflated with the 4th house. But that does mean that we're looking at something new to love that could be shaping right now in the place of home and family. With respect to a fertile new beginning, we could be looking at that in relation to things like home, family, property, or living environment. The wisdom of the goddess, how is that feminine wisdom speaking with respect to your internal life, the private sphere of life, or those maybe more intimate relationships within the private sphere of life, including home and family? How is life purpose or direction clarifying itself for you right now, specifically with respect to those things that are happening around home, family, parents, and ancestral karma? And then finally, any insight whatsoever in the month ahead around the topics of home and family would be natural, not only to the sign of Cancer, but also to that 4th house. So for Aries, that's what I would watch for. Watch for these topics, these kinds of archetypal configurations to be showing up not just today, but in the weeks ahead. For Tauruses, I'm going to highlight the 3rd house. Now, this is exciting because I'm a Taurus rising, so I guess like this is my own horoscope. The 5 things to watch for here: something new to love. I would add in the 3rd house, a place that is often associated with communication, the mind, learning. In Indian astrology, this house is associated with the things that we practice and cultivate through effort because we have a desire for something. It's like, I desire to be an astrologer. You got to learn, you got to study, you got to practice, you got to put the love and passion into it, into learning it. So something new to love, something new to learn. A fertile new beginning with respect to things like siblings, the local or immediate environment, your village or your neighborhood, as well as maybe things involving the mind and learning. A fertile new beginning of mind, a fertile new beginning of psychology, a fertile new beginning with something that you are going to put effort into cultivating or learning. And then the wisdom of the goddess. This house was called Dia, or goddess, in ancient astrology. It could be that there are some particularly sensitive, vulnerable, emotional things that are growing in your life right now that want to contribute to a deepening form of emotional intelligence in your life if you're a Taurus. I would also wonder about what kinds of things you're nurturing or caring for. A clarified sense of direction, purpose, or belief in general could be coming through right now, though I wouldn't be surprised if it was, again, overlapped with things that are familial, emotional, ancestral, that require nurturance, care, devotion, or also that require you put some effort into learning something, or learning how to express a skill or an ability, or learning to communicate yourself in a new way. And any kind of insight into family or ancestral patterns, and maybe the effort that you're learning to put into changing those patterns, we could also see in this house, as it really is a house that, in so many ways, when Jupiter is there, often provides us new opportunities to grow through what we're learning. I'm going to go forward now to Gemini rising. So with Gemini rising, this new moon and this Jupiter cazimi form in your 2nd house. That's something new to love, or someone new to love. Does it have anything to do with resources, values, and the things that you're cultivating on the material plane? Something new to love may be a new skill or ability that could be marketable or lucrative. Something new that you're building or developing around business, assets, money, resources. I would think of this as a fertile new beginning for the development or cultivation of new kinds of resources, even people, or different uses of your time or your energy that can cultivate new things. For example, I frequently see transits of Jupiter to the 2nd house taking place when people decide that they're going to change their lifestyle habits. The reason for this is that the 2nd house was traditionally associated with food. It was also associated with anything we build or cultivate for the sake of our material well-being and survival. So what are the resources you're developing that really help you exist in a more peaceful or enjoyable way? Also, anything that's new or fertile with respect to things like business, money, or finances in general. The wisdom of the goddess. How is the wisdom of the goddess reprogramming or almost reorienting your sense of direction with respect to your values and your resources? I could see this as a time where new people, new environments are coming through to be more nurturing, more emotionally bonded. The idea of developing deeper, like drawing from new wells, deep water, almost like what are the deepest emotional resources in people or places or things you can tap into right now, almost drawing a new form of emotional sustenance from this transit. Clarified sense of direction, purpose, or belief in general with respect to money, resources, income and expenditures, what you value and how it translates into how you spend your time, money, energy, and resources. And then finally, any insight into family or ancestral karma or healing with respect to the material world, to things like bills and money and finances. Maybe there's support coming in through family members, or maybe family members are in need of some form of healing or support. That also wouldn't be surprising. We do have to be there's a spirit of generosity with Jupiter in the second house. Also, sometimes the potential to give out too much, whether that's through spending or helping other people. Be careful to sort of safeguard your resources without being stingy. Maybe that's some insight there as well. All right, well, moving on to Cancer risings. This puts that stellium, or the new moon, and the Jupiter cazimi into the first house. Something new to love might be yourself. This is a house of the cultivation of selfhood, of dharma, of what makes me essentially me. What are your habits of self-care? How are you learning to tend to your body, to your energy, and to your well-being? Who are you becoming? That's something new to love. Could be something that's coming forth as a core part of selfhood. A fertile new beginning. Look, I've seen many Cancer rising, or not Cancer rising, but I've seen many women with Jupiter in their first house go through like literally getting pregnant or having a baby, but also becoming a midwife for anything creative. When Jupiter's in such a fertile water sign in your first house, like what are you midwifing as a fertile new beginning that's coming through you? Number 3 is the wisdom of the goddess. How's that showing up in terms of how you see yourself, how you embody a more authentic version of yourself? The wisdom of the goddess might be what's leading you right now on the path of self-development. A clarified sense of direction, purpose, or belief rooted in a deepening understanding of what makes me unique. Not how am I a part of this category or that category or whatever. And that might be part of it. But it really is getting down to the deepest secrets of who we are. And when you're living from that space, there's a way in which we can flow in life organically, knowing what to do in each unique situation, because there's something like a sensitive, like a compass orienting us uniquely as we go. Jupiter's very good when it goes through the first house at helping us sort of get clear about what values, what philosophies, what beliefs are guiding us along the path of life. And then any insight that's coming to you with respect to your personal development and evolution that comes from family, ancestral karma, healing of that karma, or insight into that karma, all would be very natural for this transit right now. All right, let's push along to Leo rising. With Leo rising, we're taking the new moon and the cazimi of Jupiter that just happened, we're placing it into the 12th house. This 12th house can be a kind of blind spot, a place that we don't clearly see or easily have access to. But what I love about such benefic configurations of new moon in its own domicile and exalted Jupiter in this house is that something new to love might be a neglected part of yourself, parts of yourself that maybe have been sensitive or wounded or feel left out or neglected or alienated or ostracized. Can we embrace them and bring them in? A fertile new beginning. Sometimes the things gestating in the 12th house we do not see, but don't be surprised if over the course of the next year, things that are gestating in an unconscious space become very powerful and creative in directing the course of your life, maybe even birthing themselves in about a year from now when Jupiter enters your first house. I would also listen to the wisdom of the goddess. When you go into times of retreat, silence, when you take time away from the world, don't be surprised if in the quiet place you find that presence of the goddess waiting for you to offer you insight if you just take the time to kind of turn off distractions and tune inward. Number 4 would be a clarified sense of direction, purpose, or belief. I find that often when we feel like we're losing control or life is not going according to the plan that we had, or that we're going in a direction where we're not feeling entirely sure of where things are heading, that Jupiter in the 12th will coincide with periods of time in which we're wandering, but that wandering is it's something we have to go through as we are clarifying direction and purpose, finding faith and meaning in a new way. So let yourself wander a little bit, but don't be surprised if that over the next year, as this wandering is taking place, or even the next month, that slowly a sense of understanding purpose and direction sort of emerges and you can see the path ahead again. But a little bit of divine wandering might be a part of this as new direction is clarifying itself. Insight into family, ancestral karma, or healing. The 12th house is a moksha house. It refers to liberating attachments. This is a year, really, and a month in which a lot of liberation of family or ancestral karma can take place for Leos. All right, let's move forward now to Virgo. So for Virgos, the new moon and the Jupiter cazimi take place in the 11th house. So something new to love could be a new wish, a new hope, a new dream. The 11th house was the place of hopes, wishes, and aspirations. A fertile new beginning could be about the new people or allies or groups or communities that are somehow part of new dreams, wishes, and aspirations for the future. This house loves to dream, loves to wish and hope and imagine what the future could look like. And then it likes to meet people and find people who can be allies along that the path of that dream. So thinking about fertile new beginnings and something new to love, dreams, wishes, hopes, community, people that could come into your life, the wisdom of the goddess, especially directing the path of the future, the ambitions and dreams of or hopes that you have right now, as well as the kind of people you're meeting. Don't be surprised if the goddess has something to say, if something feminine and or even ancestral or familial or cultural is an important part of the conversation. A clarified sense of direction, purpose, and belief might be a part of how you're also forming new dreams and ambitions, or as you're clarifying your philosophy, beliefs, and sense of life direction, all of a sudden new people appear that are somehow a part of that, or new groups or changes within existing groups. And then finally, I wouldn't be surprised to see any kind of insight or healing taking place around the family and ancestral lines of Cancer, but maybe there's overlap between family, ancestral, insight, karma, healing, and community or group dynamics. Those are the things that I would watch for Virgos. All right, let's move on to Libras. We have the new moon forming in your 10th house with the Jupiter cazimi in the 10th house. Something new to love in the workplace, in your vocation, in your career. This could be a new person, a new project, a new direction that you're taking in your career. A fertile new beginning where there's a lot of promise for something that you are working on now or starting now to grow into the future. It's a very fertile starting point for career projects. Number 3 would be the wisdom of the goddess. How is the goddess, or that sort of feminine, intuitive, embodied, sensual, natural, the world of nature, the wisdom of women or women in leadership? How are these themes coming up and directing things with respect to career? Also, how are we seeing just a clarified sense of direction, purpose, or belief guiding us in terms of our career path overall right now? And then finally, any insight into family, ancestral karma, or healing, as it is also connected to your work in the world, your reputation, or your sense of purpose or direction professionally. What's the overlap between things like family, ancestry, heritage, culture, race, religion, the things that are a part of kind of the root system that you came up through, and how are they becoming more visible or an important part of the direction of career right now? I would look at any of those things, keeping in mind that if you're retired, any of these topics might involve more of your interaction with the social realm, the public social realm, but maybe not the workplace any longer. All right, with Scorpio. For Scorpios, the new moon and the Jupiter cazimi take place in your 9th house, the place of higher wisdom. Something new to love could be a new teacher. It could be a new learning, a new subject, a fertile new beginning with respect to traveling abroad, expanding your horizons, teaching something, learning something, studying something, developing a spiritual or religious practice, or maybe even joining a group of some kind that's all about learning or some kind of spiritual practice. The wisdom of the goddess could show up in this house in terms of the deepening convictions you have that are informed by things like feminism or the care for the planet, or anything involving advocacy for things like women, children, safety, homes. I think Jupiter in the 9th is like kind of like a great advocate for Cancerian things. So how is the wisdom of the goddess acting as your guru or your guide right now? Clarified sense of direction, purpose, or belief is quite common when Jupiter goes through the ninth house in general. This house coincides with learning, and Jupiter in this house can really almost like put us on a path that is both shaping our life direction and purpose as it is teaching us something. Maybe, like, for example, astrology. You learn astrology, you feel like you're learning a language, but it's also a whole belief system that's starting to shape your life. Number 5, insight into family, ancestral karma or healing, and maybe with specific connection to things like ideology, belief, religion, philosophy, education. What is the overlap between family, home, and belief, or family, home, and learning, or even family, home, and foreign or international, or like long distance journeys or travel? Are you traveling abroad? Are you making a pilgrimage to, your ancestral home or something like that? Interesting things to consider for Scorpios. For Sagittarians, we are looking at the new moon along with the Jupiter cazimi in the 8th house. Now, something new to love could very well be a new bond that is forming. The 8th house really does speak to karmic bonds and contracts with other people, the give and take and the exchange of those dynamics. The formation of a new moon with a Jupiter reset here could be a new bond, a new resource, a new exchange that's being established, and maybe one that has a lot to give or a lot to provide. Maybe you're providing or maybe you're receiving, but ideally the bonds of the 8th house are reciprocal. So this could be something new that's forming in the way of a karmic contract or soul bond with other people. A fertile new beginning could be in terms of the kinds of debts that are being cleared and the new beginnings that clearing of debts provide us with. The wisdom of the goddess might inform you in terms of what contracts with other beings, social, emotional, financial, are substantive and deep and healthy versus those that are not. The goddess may be directing you around those things. Clarified sense of direction, purpose, or belief, specifically with respect to what forms of attachment and bondedness with other people are really healthy and maybe those that are not so healthy. How is your whole sense of life purpose being reoriented as old contracts dissolve or as new contracts are established? Insight into family, ancestral karma, or healing, the relinquishments of attachments that are unhealthy, that are maybe rooted in family or ancestral patterns, the establishment of new bonds that are maybe rooted in healing that's been happening around things like home and family. These are all just things to consider for Sages with this conjunction taking place in your 8th house. For Capricorns, we are looking at the formation of the new moon and the Jupiter cazimi in your 7th house, the place of love and relationships. Something new to love could be someone new to love, or a deepening of an emotional connection with someone else, or your interpersonal relationships in general. A fertile new beginning might mean that a wife or partner is getting pregnant, or that you're buying a home together, or that your partner is taking off into a new, very fertile, creative stage in their life, and you're there to support or bear witness. A fertile new beginning could also be about a deepening wisdom that maybe the goddess is also imparting. What's the feminine, emotional, intelligent, sensitive, embodied direction of the goddess in your life, within relationships, within the realm of intimacy with other people? How is the goddess showing up right now? A clarified sense of direction, purpose, or belief taking place in general in the realm of relationships. And then could there be some meaningful overlap between the development of relationships and maybe broadly speaking, social contacts with other people, the happiness derived from interpersonal relationships, and anything connected to family or ancestral karma? What's the overlap between those things right now comes to my mind immediately. Now, for Aquarians, we're taking this new moon with Jupiter cazimi, placing it into the 6th house. This 6th house is a place of effort, labor, sacrifice, service, also associated with things like sickness and frustrations and difficulties and conflicts, but also a place that we have to work really hard in order to overcome the various obstacles that are involved in material life. It's a chop wood, carry water kind of house in that respect. If there's something new to love in this house, it's what am I loving that requires effort and sacrifice, that I care enough to put my passionate labor and work into? What's that fertile new beginning that might have a bit of a rough start or some obstacles right at the beginning that we have to overcome? The wisdom of the goddess. How are we being asked to care give or caretake ourselves or others or animals? Where is the sensitive, compassionate voice of the goddess directing us right now? A clarified sense of direction, purpose, or belief with respect to the sacrifices, the service, the giving of our own sweat, blood, and tears. How is a direction in our life in general being clarified along the lines of sacrificial acts? So then number 5 would be insight into family or ancestral karma or healing. Maybe there's an ability to find healing or find some grace or compassion or devotion, nurturance, connectedness emotionally, despite the presence of old conflicts. I feel like this is a bit like a peacemaker, peacekeeper, or diplomat with Jupiter exalted in this house coming in and saying, like, how can we get rid of an old story that's painful or harmful or difficult? Maybe with family members, but also maybe within our own bodies, maybe that have almost like a genetic or ancestral background to it. Finally, we have Pisces, and for Pisces, the conjunction with Jupiter and the subsequent new moon in Cancer are taking place in your 5th house. Now, when I say something new to love here or a fertile new beginning here, it very well could mean pregnancy. But in the 5th house, we can always think about this house connected to our creative dharma. What is the new creative project or creative act or art or skill or hobby that brings pleasure and joy, and it is a natural outpouring of yourself to connect with this? So a creative, fertile new beginning that gives rise to self-expression that's really meaningful and satisfying. This is a house that is associated with the happiness or joy derived from our authentic selfhood. The wisdom of the goddess speaking here has to do with self-love, self-care, compassion, and creativity combined. When we love ourselves, we let ourselves creatively flow into life. We might also think about a clarified sense of direction, purpose, or belief that is naturally creative, that is about honoring or acknowledging maybe parts of ourselves that really need to express in order for us to feel whole. I would also look at any insight into family, ancestral karma, or healing that is specifically connected to our sense of joy, happiness, and creative fulfillment. If you have a family that really supports you versus one that doesn't, if you have a family that really sees you versus one that doesn't, these things may come up in a big way for Pisceans right now with the qualities of these planets meeting in the 5th. Also, I would say, very broadly speaking, the 5th house emotional Cancerian energy says, are you feeling good? Because you should be. You don't have to feel bad all the time. I mean, part of life is about dealing with difficult emotions and feelings. It's not always easy to be ourselves and to feel creatively satisfied or like deeply happy. Like, it would be unrealistic to feel that every single minute of every single day. But you should also, it shouldn't be like weeks without saying that, yeah, like there's days that are really happy, that are filled with a lot of joy. And like, I feel like there's a good vibe. So if not, then this is a great energy for placing more importance on those things, placing more emphasis and time, because you deserve those things. We all do. All right, so I'll leave it there for everyone. I, again, want to just offer my sincere apology for, I have a little bit of a strained throat going on. I don't feel my best today, but on a day like this, usually I'm very specific about taking some downtime, trying to rest a little bit extra, hydrate a little bit extra, and then typically I feel I'll rebound pretty well. But that being said, if the horoscopes were a little on the shorter end or a little bit more like terse or something, I do apologize. Anyway, that's it for today. We will be back tomorrow for more. And until then, I hope you're having a good one. We'll see you again soon. Bye.